You get home from work, you're tired, you tell yourself just 20 minutes to decompress, then you'll do something meaningful with the evening. And then you look up, and it's 11 p.m. You didn't read, you didn't exercise, you didn't work on that thing you keep saying matters to you. You just drifted. Again. And the worst part? You're not even sure what you did. The evening just dissolved, like it was never really yours to begin with. If that sounds familiar, this video isn't going to lecture you about wasting time. I'm not going to tell you to wake up at 5 a.m. or build a 7-step evening routine. I just want to share 5 small things that actually helped me stop losing my evenings, and why they worked. Here's what most people get wrong about this problem. They think the enemy is laziness, that if they just had more willpower, they'd come home and immediately be productive. But that's not really what's happening. When you finish work, your brain isn't lazy, it's depleted. Decision-making, focus, resisting distraction. All of that runs on a mental resource that gets used up throughout the day. By 6 p.m., you're running on fumes. And here's the thing about a depleted brain. It doesn't reach for what's meaningful. It reaches for what's easy. High stimulation, low effort, no thinking required. That's not a character flaw. That's just how your nervous system manages exhaustion. The scroll, the autoplay, the just one more episode. These aren't signs you're broken. They're signs your brain found the path of least resistance and took it. So the question isn't, how do I become more disciplined? The real question is, how do I make the meaningful stuff easier to choose than the numbing stuff? The first thing I changed was this. I stopped trying to transition straight from work brain to evening life. There was no gap between them. I'd close my laptop and immediately be half thinking about emails while half watching something. Neither thing got my full attention. I wasn't recovering. I wasn't engaged. I was just stuck between two worlds. So I created a shutdown ritual, and I mean a small one, 5 minutes. I write down what I finished, what's waiting tomorrow, and I close everything. Literally say out loud, work is done. It sounds almost too simple, but that ritual became a signal to my brain. This chapter is over. You can actually let go now, and that mattered more than I expected. The second thing I changed was making fewer decisions about what to do with my evening. This sounds backwards, right? More freedom should mean more enjoyment. But when you're mentally tired and you have infinite options, you freeze, or you default to the easiest thing. Choice paralysis is real, and it hits hardest when your willpower is already low. So instead of figuring out what to do with my evenings each day, I pre-decided. Monday I go for a walk, Tuesday I read, Wednesday I cook something new. It's not rigid, it's just a loose anchor, so my tired brain doesn't have to start from scratch every evening. When the default is something gentle and good, you don't need discipline to do it. You just follow the track you already laid. The third thing was changing my environment before I needed willpower. Here's a truth about willpower. You shouldn't need much of it if your environment is set up well. Willpower is the backup system. Environment is the operating system. So I started doing small things. Phone goes in the other room when I eat dinner. The book I want to read sits on the couch, not in the shelf. My running shoes go by the door at night, so I see them in the morning. None of these are huge changes, but they reshape what's easy and what requires effort. What you see first shapes what you do first. That's not discipline. That's just design. The fourth thing I did was let go of the idea that every evening needs to be productive. I used to feel guilty anytime I relaxed without earning it, like resting was a reward I hadn't quite deserved yet. And that guilt made me reach for distraction instead of actual rest, because distraction feels neutral. It doesn't feel like failing. It just feels like nothing. But passive scrolling and real rest are not the same thing. One actually restores you. The other just postpones your exhaustion until tomorrow. Real rest can look like a walk with no destination, a meal you actually taste, a conversation that has nothing to do with productivity. When you stop treating recovery like laziness, you actually recover. And the next day feels completely different. Not every evening is for building. Some evenings are for becoming a person who can keep building. And the fifth thing, probably the most honest, is that I stopped trying to fix my entire evening at once. I used to think a good evening meant exercise, read, call a friend, meal prep, journal, and still be in bed by 10. And when I inevitably didn't hit all of that, I'd feel like I failed and do nothing instead. So I shrank the goal. One thing per evening, just one. And if that one thing happens, a 10-minute walk, 3 pages, a home-cooked meal, then the evening was a success. That sounds small because it is small. But small and consistent beats ambitious and abandoned every single time. And once you start trusting yourself to do the one thing, you'll naturally start doing a little more. Not because you forced it, because it starts to feel good. Here's what I want to leave you with. Your evenings are not there to compensate for a difficult day. They're not a redemption arc where you have to make up for everything that went wrong since 9 a.m. They're just a few hours that belong to you, and you don't need to transform them overnight. You just need to show up for them a little more intentionally, a little more often. Over time, those small choices add up to something that feels a lot less like drifting, and a lot more like a life you're actually living. That's worth more than any productivity system I've ever found.